Welcome to Beyond Sunday, where we take the conversation a step further to grow in our love and understanding of Jesus.
Welcome to Beyond Sunday. I'm Steve. Across from me is my lovely wife, Sarah.
Hey, everyone.
I didn't have to think about your name. I just couldn't. Every time I can't remember if you're going to say your name or if I'm just introducing you. But I'm glad you're here.
We'll get this down.
And today we have a super extra special, just one of our absolute favorite people in the entire world. Pastor Ron Nagel is here with us today.
Good to be with you guys this morning.
Yeah, no, this is a thrill for us. I mean, we can't state it enough how much you and Debbie have meant to us in the years that we've been in ministry. I mean, we were baby, rookie, super green coming into ministry back in 2011. And the two of you just loved on us and cared for us and encouraged us so much that it just meant the world to us. And I can't thank you enough for what you've meant to the two of us, to our family. And it's just, honestly, I'm not exaggerating when I say it is truly a thrill to have you here with us, just to talk about your life in ministry and all the things that God has done in and through your life and your family's life just over the years. So, Ron, just to give the kids a little bit of an idea, your role here at New Life for how long was it?
16 years full-time. Let me see, I started part-time January 2004, worked for a year and a half part-time, and then started full-time July 1st, 2005, till July 1st or June 30th, 2021, is whenever I went part-time again.
You broke my heart.
I'm still here.
Yeah, I know you are. No, one of my favorite things was every Monday until you retired. So from 2011 until 2021, outside of the COVID fun stuff, I would be plopping myself down at that chair right on the inside of your door, and always be a little bit angry and jealous if somebody else was already sitting there.
Get out of my spot. That's my spot.
Yeah. It was definitely like my favorite part of Monday mornings was sitting down with you and talking, and you've had a very full life of ministry, and that's what we wanted to talk about a little bit about. So, Ron, tell us about your life, where you grew up, in like your life before Jesus a little bit, and then how you came to know him.
Okay, so I was raised in a church, and when I say that, it's the truth. My mom and dad were the janitors. My dad was on the deacon board. My mom was a church clerk. They taught Sunday school. We were there just about every time the doors opened. And so I was raised in church, but in my early teen years, I really started to withdraw and turn my back on the things that I was taught and so forth. The mid to late 1960s were kind of tough with me. High school wasn't my best time. I got into some things that I'm not proud of now, but in the fall of 1971, a friend of mine started to talk to me about the Lord, and February 27th, 1972, I accepted Christ as my Savior at an old barn in Newton Falls, Ohio, where there were a bunch of hippies, bikers, Jesus freaks, they called them at the time, having church. It was February 27th. There was snow blowing through the sides of the barn, and was sitting on a bale of hay or straw, whatever. But yeah, that was the beginning of my spiritual journey then, and for me it was pretty dramatic. God took away. He kind of delivered me from alcohol, from filthy language, a lot of things. And God's still working on a lot of the rough edges that I built up during those times.
Yeah, I think it's a never-ending journey, which is the truth. I mean, you've been a Christian for the majority of your life, and I mean, I think it's good for us to confess the fact that we're never done growing. We're never done
Absolutely.
maturing.
Yeah.
Not one of us. Like the journey never ends. We are students of it until we are called home. And then we just get to, live for eternity with Christ. And that's the joy in it. So you're like the barn, which you had a picture of on your desk always. That wasn't the state that it was in when you were there, or was it?
No, it was, there were still tractors around the outside and everything. It was, as far as I know, the father of the guy that preached that night was still doing some farming there and so forth. But the picture that I got was in 2004. The barn was beginning to fall down, but the lettering was still on the side of the barn in big white letters. And I reconnected with the guy who was speaking there. Actually, it's kind of a funny story, but that night, the only thing that I remembered being said was by a guy that had long black hair, big black beard. He was a pretty good sized guy, and he was playing the guitar, and people were calling him Crow. And he said something to the effect of, "If you just try this Jesus trip, everything's going to be groovy and far out." Yeah, we're talking 1972. And you'll never have any more trouble in your life. And so I've used that and said over the years, I wonder how this guy's life went, because even Jesus said in John 16:33, I think, "In this world you will have trouble, but behold, I've overcome the world." And so it was kind of neat. It's been, I think, 2 years ago now, I have been posting on Facebook for a few years my anniversary date of when I got accepted Christ. And I have a picture of me and Tom Ullman, the guy that preached that night, and a picture of the barn. And I'll do that just about every year. And 2 years ago, I got a response on Facebook. I had a similar experience at that place, and it changed my life. My name's Richard King, and a lot of people called me Crow back then. It was the first time in over 50 years that I had contact with him. And it just, to me, it's just kind of a blessing that God gives you to reconnect with some people like that. It was the only thing I had remembered from that night, other than kneeling down and asking Jesus into my heart. So,
Full circle moment. That's cool.
It was really cool. I remember you telling me that story of that, because it's just like, it's always incredible what God brings back into our life, things that we would never expect. And that's just one of those blessings that, you don't expect, but man, it's so neat that you got to reconnect with him and kind of minister to him, even, like some of the stuff that he was dealing with, today. So who was with you that night? Like, who invited you to the barn? Did you already say that?
No, okay. It was twins that were friends of mine growing up, Dennis and Danny Kennedy. They were pretty tough, and I was always kind of glad to be on their good side, because they would fight anybody and usually won. And Danny went to the Marine Corps, and I asked him, because this was 1969, after the Tet Offensive and everything was going on with Vietnam and stuff, and he joined the Marine Corps. And I said, "Danny, why'd you do this?" And he said, "So I could kill. And that's the attitude he went into the Marine Corps with. He was sent to Okinawa instead of Vietnam, and when he was over there, he met a missionary, and he had been doing the LSD thing and all of that. And the missionary led him to Christ. And Danny's life was so changed that when he came back to Newcastle, the Newcastle News did 2 weeks in a row, they did a center spread article about him and the Jesus movement. And so when Danny came home, the first one he targeted was his twin brother, Dennis, and then a couple of others of us that were friends. And Danny and Dennis were the ones that took me to the barn. This was after a few weeks or a couple months of witnessing to me and sharing Jesus with me and things. And so it was Danny that led me to the Lord.
Awesome. Oh, did you say where's that relationship at?
So Dennis and his wife 2 years ago in May were killed in a motorcycle accident, and that was kind of tough to take and so forth. But Danny actually has had some health issues recently, but through that, his commitment to the Lord has really been renewed, and we've been having some pretty sweet fellowship over the past few weeks, and almost reconnecting again, like on a spiritual level and things. So it's been really, really neat, you know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah. So So we talked about your wonderful wife, Debbie. Where's Debbie in the picture at this point?
How'd you guys meet?
So
Yes, there we go.
Okay, yeah. So we met. I like to tell this story, and she always kind of blushes or tells me not to say this, but we met at a youth group or a youth event, something like that, and so we were on a hayride, and we had talked a little bit and everything, but on that hayride, she took my hand and held my hand, and honestly, you know, I'm not going to ask to hold your hand, Sarah, but honestly, to this point, I never have. She's got the softest hands of anybody I know, and I was kind of captured at that point. And the thing was, when we started dating, I was 18 years old. She was 15. Mm-hmm. I don't even think that's legal in some states now. But we were very mature for our age.
Oh, of course.
You know. But yeah, we dated, you know, for 3.5 years, I think, before we got married. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but God allowed us to stay sexually pure. You know, and in that time, and I still thank God for that. Mm-hmm. He gave us the strength and encouragement to do that, and you know, just we celebrated our 50th anniversary this past
awesome.
April. Yeah, and so God's been really good, and honestly, we're drawing closer and closer together. We would both face some health issues, and but it's done nothing but draw us closer together and closer to God. So
you guys are such a team too. Like you both have like these beautiful gifts that come together, and you're both good at. I don't know. Debbie's always just real good at like walking in and just encouraging me at the right time. I don't even know how she knows I need it, but she always knows like what to say and when. And I didn't even tell her anything yet. But you guys are both so good at that. I think anybody who knows you at all would say you guys just have this ability to like. You're like, you've been called a pastor to the pastors, and you're a father figure to a lot of people. And likewise, like, it's just very cool to watch God use the two of you, because we talked about this, I think, back on like episode 1. Like sometimes God brings two people together and like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Do you know what I mean?
Synergy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite words. Yeah, and that does apply with us. It really does.
You guys are amazing together. I mean, separately, obviously, but like together as a team. I don't know. I think everybody who knows you just loves you guys. So it's cool to watch you guys work.
No.
And be a light everywhere you go. So
absolutely.
She's done a lot of training on me over the years. You know?
She's done a lot of training on me too. Yeah. I think it's like God brings good women into our lives as pastors. Like we need that counterbalance,
right?
And the person that's not going to be afraid to call us on our
absolutely
our not so good aspects.
Right. Yeah.
So no, that's so you and Debbie are together. You guys are growing your faith together. You're married. When was the call into ministry?
So I felt like there was a definite call in 1988, but actually whenever I was feeling that call, and it was into a speaking ministry at that time, but Debbie, again, was correcting me. I have learned this. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Happy wife, happy life. So, you know, I've been learning this over the years. I just want to throw that in while we're talking about Debbie and I. But she reminded me that we really had been in ministry since we started to date, actually. There was a vacancy in the youth leadership at the church where we were attending at the time where I grew up. And so we stepped into that. I started teaching senior high Sunday school class, and she was there with me. And I'm going to guess that probably for me, I was 21, maybe 20 years old whenever that started to happen. So pretty young. but we did that for, I'm going to guess around, what would it be, 16 years or something like that. And then I felt the call October of 1988 at a place called the All-American Quarter Horse Congress. It was at the Ohio State Fairgrounds. And I had been involved before, in my BC years, before Christ, I was real deeply involved in training and showing American quarter horses. And this was like the major event for that breed, for all the trainers, the people that showed and everything like that. And I hadn't been to that since probably 1971, I think. And so it was kind of neat to be there, but I saw in the program there were church services on Sunday sponsored by Cowboys for Christ. So Debbie and I and our friends Joan and Bruce, we decided to go to the church service, and God spoke through the speaker that day, Ted Presley. And I didn't realize what was going on the whole way home. It was kind of dramatic because I felt this huge, almost physical thing going on with me, and prayed about it. And I had basically never called out of the state, the area code that we lived in before that time. And I had picked up some literature that had Ted's name on it. I called him and said, I just want to thank you for what you did on Sunday. I don't know what's going on for sure, but something's happening in my life. And he suggested I start a chapter of Cowboys for Christ in our area. And a little over a year later, January of 1990, I was licensed and commissioned through Cowboys for Christ as a licensed minister. And it was kind of neat because before then it was okay doing the youth group because we're talking 10 or 15 kids and in a small group and things like that. But I used to get physically sick at the thoughts of doing a 2 or 3 minute speech in English class in high school. and so the thoughts of speaking to a group of people just really rattled me. And I did the whole Moses thing, if you know what I'm talking about there. Why don't you get somebody that can speak? I'm just, I'm not trained for this. I don't have the education. I don't have anything. And God just opened up a whole new world to me with this. And it was in the people group that I had spent so much time with before. And we had gotten a pony for Micah, our oldest son, and things. And then shortly after I had actually before that, my friend Bruce had given me a quarter horse filly. And we started, all of a sudden, all this stuff started coming back into my life, saddles and trailers and, and all these things. And it was God preparing to open this door for ministry for me. And we did that for 16 years. So that's phase one.
That's phase
Phase two, maybe. I don't know.
So your ministry life in Cowboys for Christ, what did that look like? Like, what did that ministry look like on a day-to-day or week-to-week kind of?
Okay, so we had monthly meetings, and it was basically a time of, like some devotions and prayer time and updates for those who were close. And we ended up forming a board of directors out of that. We were incorporated and everything to try to, for like insurance reasons and stuff. But basically, there were a team of 3 of us that went out on Sunday mornings to horse shows, rodeos, county fairs, training symposiums, and we went all over the Northeast. I think we traveled as far northeast as New Hampshire, down to Virginia, over into Kentucky, and maybe up into Michigan and all the states in between. Spoke a couple of times in Texas, where I felt like that's where I should have been born years ago, 100 years ago before that or whatever.
True cattleman.
Yeah, I felt that cowboy deal there, But yeah, so we traveled. I thought when we started the ministry, maybe we'd do 2 or 3 services a year, and it ended up 9 months out of the year, I was traveling every weekend somewhere to do church service for Cowboys for Christ. And one of the verses that really stuck with me at that point in time was, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm there in their midst, because there were times when I'd travel 8 or 10 hours and maybe only 2 or 3 people would show up. One of the biggest numbers, I guess, was somewhere in New England. I don't remember what state it was, but I was going to do services for these training symposiums with a nationally known trainer, and I didn't realize the size of the crowd that he had there, but there were over 650 participants there. And I'm standing in the middle of the arena like Garth Brooks with a black cowboy hat on and the hands-free mic.
Yeah.
And I had found, God had showed me the importance of praise and worship. Mm. And so a cappella, I'm singing 3 praise songs at the time in front of these people. And I'm nervous about that, but God's Spirit was moving in such a way that over 150 people stood up to accept Lord or rededicate their lives to the Lord that time. That was my highlight, I guess, but that was all him, But
yeah, and for you were just saying, like, and I think it's one of those things that we need to reiterate to students, especially. It's like, the fear and the doubt. So we were just talking about this with our students, as of this recording last night, about like God uses people that view themselves as weak or lesser to show what He is capable of doing, not what we're capable of doing. And one of the other things that we were really emphasizing even last night is the importance of having mentors in your life and people that are going to lead you along. And I mean, I think anytime I give an example of a mentor in my life, I always give you as that example, somebody that's like a generation or 2 ahead, that's wise and has lived through things and are going to help point out things. You always talk about Cowboys for Christ in that time as a time of mentorship because you had Ted Presley in your life. So could you speak to that a little bit? Like, what did that look like? Like, what did that mentorship role look like in your life?
So during that time, real quick, because I want to mention this too, because you mentioned it coming into it, I learned that the greatest ability that God looks for in us to serve Him is availability. And just being available, being present, being ready. So Ted was a character. He was I don't even know. He was like a legend or something like that. But he would introduce me to world champions in the horse show business, movie stars, things like that and stuff. But and I've dealt with low self-worth all my life, so this is kind of a new twist for me. One time he took me into the Fort Worth Stock Show, and there was a contract act in between the events called the One-Armed Bandit, and this guy would herd cattle onto the top of his stock trailer, and crack a whip, and he had a herd dog and everything, and he only had one arm. Well, Ted thought I needed to meet him backstage and took me back there, and stuff, and he's just an awesome guy, and the thing that stands out most in my mind about Ted Presley was he always, his expectations of me were far greater than mine of myself. He was always confident that I could do whatever God called me to do when I was not confident of that. So he was great to have there. Nobody's perfect, and he wasn't either, but he passed away in 2011. It was I grieved that for quite a while, and I still do, his birthday and things like that, because he really was. He was a mentor to me.
No.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. It's so cool too to see like somebody calling out in you what they see in you and helping you like live up to that calling that's on your life, because we don't often see it in ourselves. We were just talking about this with students with Gideon, like he's called a mighty man of valor by the angel of the Lord, but he was found hiding in a wine press. You know what I'm saying? Like he's actively like kind of cowering in fear. But
there's somebody else like that.
but the angel Lord is calling out what he sees in him. It's like, no, you are a warrior, and you are going to do great things. And we don't often see that ourselves, but to have somebody call that out in us, I think is huge for,
It is.
Like you said, our willingness, our availability. Like we tend to be a little bit more willing, if somebody else can show us what they see in us, because we don't often see it in ourselves. Like we tend to downplay, our own gifts and abilities and what we're capable of. And sometimes it needs called out by somebody else. So that's awesome.
And something to throw in right there too is you guys work with teens, preteens, and that. People need to realize, kids need to realize that honestly they are in a leadership role also, whether they know it or not. You're being an example to someone. Whether it's a younger brother or sister or I'm picturing in my mind right now a couple of the kids that are in your group. One of them's my grandson, but one of them's Elliot, and how he befriended Wyatt, and I asked Wyatt just this week. I said, or Debbie maybe did, what's your favorite service? She said, whenever Elliot's there.
Oh, yeah.
So. We're in that position, whether we realize it or not, so that we can be an influence to someone else. And
everybody has that circle of influence. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. So, one of my favorite things that you've ever told me about Ted is his ability to preach.
So, one more quick story.
I hope you're going to tell the story that I've
got allergy issues and stuff. So the first thing I did, I'm rooting through my backpack trying to find my fisherman's friend, so I don't have to clear my throat. Is this where I'm going?
I was going to mention at the very beginning, and I forgot that Ron is like good at so many things and always has a fisherman's friend for somebody in need.
They're terrible tasting.
Oh yeah.
I like to say they'll make you take back stuff you never stole. But if you're feeling bad, they help you to feel better, because if you're going to continue to take these, my body says, "Okay, I quit."
It puts your body into submission.
Right.
Exactly
Yeah. So Ted was in Pennsylvania. We were at Harmony Baptist Church at the time, and he was going to preach a revival, and he said, "My throat's real scratchy," and so I gave him a couple of fishermen's friends. He preached for 3 hours. 3 hours.
I don't know how that's possible.
I know. He preached from the platform behind a pulpit. He preached from the back of the church. He preached from the overflow up back. He preached from the choir loft, standing on a piano bench, back and forth and everything. But and when he would do, I can picture in my mind, he'd talk about the Holy Spirit's power, and he'd say dunamis. And when he'd do that, the veins in his neck would pop out, and he'd look like he was going to bite somebody or something. but he could preach the paint off the walls.
I would be hard pressed to find a person that could preach for 3. I mean, there's Jamaican pastors that preach for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
When you told me that story, he preached for 3 hours. I'm like, did he preach an entire book of the Bible? Is he just working his way?
Yeah.
But
that's awesome.
My goodness. So Cowboys for Christ. Okay, so you did that ministry for how many years was it again, Ron?
From 1988 to 2005.
2005. So that was literally right up until you came on staff here at New Life.
Yeah.
What led you to New Life Baptist Church?
So one real quick story is when my buddy Dale Brenneman and I would travel a lot together. And at one point in time, he was studying. He went to, he was Evangelical Methodist Church. And they had a program that you could take to become a lay pastor. And he was studying in that program. And I remember it wasn't arguments or anything, but just these spirited discussions about, Dale, why are you studying to be a pastor? We've got the best gig going here. We're traveling all over the country. We're getting to see new people all the time. God's blessing our ministry and stuff. Why would you ever want to be a pastor? How did you introduce me? This
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
that's Pastor Ron, and Dale's still doing the Cowboys for Christ
Is that right?
ministry.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. So I think God's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
So we left our former church because of some issues in the youth department, and our youngest sons were still in high school. Our oldest son is 6 years older than our next, and then a year and a half between. There's Micah, then 6 years later Luke was born. Year and a half later Zach was born, and Zach and Luke were still in high school, still involved, and the youth program had disintegrated and it was dismantled basically. And so we knew we had to do something. We left. I helped start a church for about a year. We were involved down there, and then we found our way to New Life. And it was kind of funny because back then it was Pastor John and Nanette, and I talked with them, and I said, listen, I'm out of here 9 months out of the year. I won't be here, but we need a safe place for our kids to come and everything. And that's how we came. And so we attended. I attended sporadically because I was doing ministry and stuff. And there were times when I'd come in, for a service if something was close. And my old Bible at the time, now this may gross some people up, but it was spent so much time at horse show arenas and barns and things like that it had a peculiar smell about it. And I noticed that one Sunday morning when I was sitting at church, and maybe it was something on my boots or something like that too. But we did that for quite a while, and some things progressed. Debbie kept telling me that we needed to come to Wednesday night Bible study, small groups, that I needed to come. And I said, okay, what group are you in? She said, well, I'm in a ladies group. You can't come with me. So I bounced around a little bit, and Pastor David at the time got me into a group. And before long, he asked me if I'd lead the group. And I said, okay. Then he put Pastor John in my group. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, what are you doing to me? And he was our lead pastor at the time. And we became friends, and eventually he asked me if I'd consider coming on staff, part-time basis, possibly full-time later. And I honestly asked him in what capacity, because I had started out as an installer at Armstrong Utilities. I moved up into to being a technician, the chief technician, assistant manager. I was at that point in time, I was a field engineer, and I didn't know if he needed a janitor at the church or what, in what position. He said as a pastor, and it took me, I'm going to say 3 months at least, praying, and because I remember the arguments I had with Dale about this, and I didn't think this was my thing, and so came on staff as a part-time basis as the pastor's senior members. And I had been in an evangelistic type ministry where I was leading people to the Lord and speaking messages of salvation and things like that. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a maintenance job, because these old people, of which I am one now, it's going to be kind of a maintenance thing and stuff. And my days as a quote unquote evangelist are over. The second week of full time, I did from January 2004 to July 2005, I was in part-time position. And we prayed, and actually, at the end of 2004, I talked to Pastor John. I said, I think God's called me into this full time. And Debbie and I talked, and she said, how about working just another 6 months so we can get our feet under us? We had a Dodge Caravan, was like the soccer mom van, and stuff. It blew up. The transmission went out the motor and everything. I think our refrigerator died. At the end of 6 months, we were in way worse shape financially than we were beforehand. And when we started to work, actually I took a 35% cut in income to come to the church. But on paper it said that, but in reality, we never missed a beat. So
yeah, it's really God's faithfulness. Like when we step into those challenges where we're like,
He'll provide.
yeah, God always does provide. Like when we are trusting a call that He puts on our life, He's not going to be like, and now figure everything out. But
Yes. And so I don't know like what your pushback initially was on the pastor thing specifically, but you can see now, I'm sure, that like the shepherding aspect of being a pastor, like there's lots of preachers and teachers who are fantastic at it, but there's a shepherding aspect of pastoring that like you and Debbie are so gifted at that. Clearly that's what God's call was on your life. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that just like flourished as you went along, you know. But I just think it's cool to see all that come to be. You know what I mean? So was that your pushback on being a pastor? Or what?
yeah, probably. In fact, I remember, now that you say that, I remember one of my friends saying to me once at a horse show, said, "You're a pastor, you know that." And I'm thinking, I like to think of myself more as a preacher, you know.
Yeah.
But he said that to me. And by the way, he was, and I just want to throw this out as sharing your faith too. He was one of my close friends when I was training and showing horses. And when I accepted Christ, I stepped away from that completely. I gave away equipment, horses, everything. And it was like, in Celebrate Recovery, we'll get to that in a minute, but there's people, places, and things that you need to change. And that lifestyle of being a horse trainer and everything was all consuming with me. Everything I read, all of that stuff. So I stepped away from that. And when I came back years later doing Cowboys for Christ ministry, he had become a Christian and was there. And one day he asked me, he said, "I thought we were friends." I said, yeah, we're friends. He said, "Nobody knew what happened to you. You left." And he said, "If we were friends and Jesus was so important to you, why didn't you tell me about him? Why did I have to find out from a total stranger?" And it kind of shook me to the core, not to try not to miss opportunities, just for the reason of the hope that we have in Jesus Christ, to share that with people and stuff. So yeah, I guess that was the thing, the pushback with the pastor thing. And plus I didn't want to hear everybody's troubles. You know? I'm being honest, you know.
You don't want to hear everybody's troubles. And so for 10 years straight, every Monday, I would sit down and tell you my troubles. So you came on staff 2005. Was it immediately for Celebrate Recovery? Was that the
2 weeks in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm full time for 2 weeks, and Pastor John said, "We need to start a new ministry here at the church, and I think you need to lead it." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" He says, "It's Celebrate Recovery." I said, "Okay, what's that?" You know, and and so he kind of explained it to me. We went to some meetings and stuff, and I found out later that this was the only time my BC days, my past drinking and smoking and hell raising, qualified me for anything else but jail or getting in trouble, you know, or you know, punishment. And so Pastor John thought because I had that past experience that I was trying to live out of, that I qualified for this new ministry. So I said, okay, well, yeah, I could lead that. I could help those people, you know. It wasn't too long into it that I had T-shirts made up. I didn't come up with the idea. I saw this in a group from Las Vegas when we were at one of the summits. But the T-shirts read, "Yeah, come, I'm one of those people." And I found out later, that I'm one of those people.
Yeah, we all are one of those people. We had a sit down with Pastor Trent as well, talking about that ministry, recognizing that Celebrate Recovery is not just like one of those things. It's just for people that are like trying to recover from addiction. It's like, even though it can get misrepresented as that, it is, you're dealing with everyday life struggles, like the pains, the hurts, the habits, and the hang-ups. that God leads you through. You got to be right there at the very beginning of it all here at the church. I mean, and then you like take off in that. You go from like you're leading it here to where you're like a state representative, right?
Yeah.
Like for a number of years. And then were you a national rep as well?
No, I was a state rep, but I became friends with the whole national team, and we'd call back and forth on the phone or whatever, but see them at the events and things like that. And that was kind of neat, just hanging with some of them. It was, it was fun. But Pastor John Baker, this was. So we hosted our first event, I think it was in 2008, here at the church, a training conference. And in fact, Pastor Tritt was going to help with that, but we had these, I think this was it, or no, I'm sorry, that was the wrong date. We hosted this event, and I was kind of the coordinator on our end. At that time, we didn't have state reps and so forth. And so I was dealing directly with Marnie Bueller, who was the event coordinator for Celebrate Recovery. Mm-hmm. And we brought the team in, and at the time, there was a little restaurant called Shortstop.
Oh, yeah.
Restaurant, yeah, right in the middle of New Wilmington. And I took Pastor John Baker there for lunch and everything. And a couple years later, Debbie and I were in Saddleback, where Celebrate Recovery was made, and we're there, and Pastor John came kind of at a brisk walk up to us in this 3,000 seat auditorium, and shaking hands and hugging and things like that. I said, "You almost look like you recognize me." He said, "Dude, we remember you took us to that little restaurant in that Amish town where they had fresh rolls," and he's naming off everything that he ate and stuff. So it was kind of fun being part of that.
That's really cool.
That group, yeah.
That's really incredible. So you did Celebrate Recovery from, I mean, basically the entire time you were on staff then. So from 2005 until full time. Until 2021, you're still involved with it to this very day, right? Correct,
right?
What capacity are you?
Yeah, in? so I was a state rep from 2014 to 2024 in November. It'll soon be a year since I stepped down as a state rep for Celebrate Recovery. I still support it when I do my little devotion to videos on Thursday mornings. I try to plug the church here and plug Celebrate Recovery and Broken Chains JC and stuff. But yeah, I kind of help Trent out wherever he needs me right now. And he's taking the reins. He takes off with it. And he's taking it to a new level. So,
but I think that's just another level of just like commitment to it. It's like, I'm not going to lead this, but I'm going to be in support of those who are leading. And I think that's an incredible thing. Like, some people are not necessarily capable of doing. It's hard for some people to, like, once you're in that lead position, it's hard to take a secondary position. Yeah. I think that takes incredible humility, and just thank you for exemplifying that in a loving and kind way. So fall of 2010.
Fall of 2010.
Do you remember fall of 2010? I remember fall of 2010. Ron.
Can you give me another hint?
Don't worry. We're getting there, buddy. Fall 2010. I
remember what I ate breakfast this morning, but
you're there.
Yeah, I'm 72 now. Give me a break.
No breaks, Ron. No breaks. No. You're gonna know this. Some young punk seminary student comes to you and says, "Hey, I need you to grade me."
Yeah, so I was thinking about that when you were giving me all these accolades in the introduction and stuff like that. I'm thinking, he's apparently forgiven me for giving him a B on his message.
I'm 1,000% forgiven you for it, because one of my favorite memories of us, and this is before I was even on staff. I was finishing seminary. I had no idea where God was taking us.
Right.
And I was in my very last seminary class. my very last seminary class, and it was I think homiletics. I think it was what was called basically was preaching, like prepping preaching, which was not my strong suit because I was extremely fearful of getting up in front of people. And I'll be straight honest with you. You're talking about like getting up for 2 minutes and like having a panic attack. It was the exact same thing for me. I mean, my first year of ministry, I was sick to my stomach. I mean, probably the first 2 years, sick to my stomach every single Sunday morning, getting up in front of those teens and just having them look at me. Yep. I mean, there were so many times where I'd stop a message dead in its tracks and be like, all right, we're done. Let's pray. But so I'm in the seminary class, and the former youth pastor, who I loved, and he did help me a lot, graded me very lightly on these messages that were, I mean, I watched the videos. They were awful. They were not well prepped. I was extremely nervous. So whatever preparation I had done, like, went out the window, because as soon as I got up in front of people and eyes were on me, I just fell apart. And this is what I was going to say. This is what I appreciate about you. I asked you to grade me, and you were honest with me. And you gave me the grade that I truly deserved for it. And so it was never a matter of forgiving you. I was never angry with you to begin with, because what I always appreciated about you, Ron, was you always approach things with love and honesty, and you helped develop me more than you probably think you did, like with that. Because one of my absolute favorite memories after that was the first time I preached on the main side, like for the adults. You came over with a Post-it note that had an A on it, and I saved that, like, because that was like that meant everything to me. So no, I wasn't calling this up to pick on you. I was calling this up because, like, I just want to reiterate that point of the importance of having people in your life that are not just going to tell you, yeah, you're doing great, without like any kind of critique. You need people that you trust that will call you to a higher standard. Just like you said, Ted Presley did for you for all those years when you were early in ministry and doubted yourself and had low self-worth. And I know that's, you share that all the time. Something like, it's not like something that's just gone. Like, it's something that it creeps its ugly head, every so often. It gets lesser, but it's still like, just maybe it's the thorn in our side that we have to deal with, that kind of thing, still, to allow the Holy Spirit to do his work. But I've always have appreciated the fact that you have that sense of humbleness to do exactly as God, like, calls you to do, and places things on your heart to push forward and say the hard things sometimes. And that's what I've admired about you. I don't know. Have I said enough nice things about you?
Yeah, that's yeah. Now I'm going to have to live up to all of this stuff.
Oh, geez. Yeah, no, but here's the crazy thing, Ron, and I don't know if it's really a talking point necessarily, but what I've always noticed about you is, I want to be selfish and say, yeah, Ron's my mentor. But you are truly the mentor. And in a lot of ways, a father figure to so many. Like, your three boys are truly blessed to have you as a dad. But like, I've always told you, like, you're a father figure to me, and like, and that's not just me saying that. I mean, I there's probably dozens of people that would all say the same thing. So I just want to thank you for always being willing to be there for people and care for people. That's just how God's built you. It's really truly a blessing to have you in that capacity in my life. But I know Sarah would say the same thing if she could still be in the interview. But yeah, I mean, church-wide, it's just such a blessing. What is one of the things that you learned over your time in ministry that has helped you, like, I guess in the regard of like going through challenging times, what has God taught you the most in ministry?
So I'm still learning it. I learned this verse real early, probably months, after coming to know the Lord. We were discipled by several different people, and that really took time out to have Bible studies with us and everything, way before Ted and things. But one of the verses that I was taught, I think I'm going to say, it was trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your paths.
Yep.
That was a verse. The thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come that they might have life and have it more abundantly.
Yeah.
Just scripture that has helped me through the rough times. I still, I'm looking toward a little bit of a rough time about a week from now. And, 2 nights ago was up for a couple hours, 2 to 4 a.m., just in the Word, in prayer, trying to pray through the anxiety that was starting to build about this upcoming thing and stuff. And so, I guess learning to trust in God, knowing that before I accepted Christ as my Savior, I believed in Jesus. I believed in God. I believed in a lot of things. I believed in the historical fact Abraham Lincoln. But trusting in him is a whole different dimension.
Yeah.
It's putting your faith and trust in him when the hard times come. And there have been some real hard times in the recent years. Probably as far as ministry concerned, even harder than learning how to do ministry is staying in it.
Yep.
And so yeah, I guess, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we don't call it quits because it's hard. We press in all the more. Like we press into God, and I think it's important. I mean, when you look at the Psalms, and how many of the Psalms are written in frustration,
Right.
and anger and contemplation of God, why is God doing what he's doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an entire book of the Bible. I mean, when you look at Job, it's all about what God, allowing something to happen in somebody's
Right.
life and allowing someone's faithfulness to be built. You look at the book of Lamentations. It's the struggles that Jeremiah is going through as everything is ripped apart, and him trying to figure out, like, God, where are you at in this? But not once in all of these things do they give up on God. They just
Right.
keep pressing in and trusting him. And like you're saying, that's what this life is supposed to be. Our ministry is our purpose in life.
Right.
That doesn't mean vocational ministry, like working full time in ministry. Like, we are all called to ministry. We're all called to minister to other people. It's going to get frustrating. You're going to feel down. You're going to feel rejected. All of that. But that's where you need to press into God,
Right.
and trust him with it.
One of the things that when Ted Presley commissioned me and Cowboys for Christ commissioned me, Ted mentioned, and I don't remember the reference right now, but he said the gifts and the calling of God are without repentance. He said, you're going to be in ministry of some type or another your entire life, whether it's with Cowboys for Christ or something else. God's got a calling on your life, and he's given you gifts, and he wants you to exercise those gifts. And like I said, too, the biggest ability that he wants us to have in our lives is availability.
Yep.
To be able to be used by him.
Yep.
And so that's with everybody.
Yep.
You don't have to be a pastor. You don't have to be a Sunday school teacher or, sing on the worship team or anything like that. Just being in Christ.
Yep. Being in Christ and making yourself available to do the things that he's calling you to do.
Yeah.
So important. Well, Ron, thank you so much for all of this. I mean, I'm serious when I say this means a lot that you'd sit down and talk through some of these things. Can I share my favorite memory?
Sure.
One of my favorite memories
Absolutely.
in ministry. I mean, we have a lot of good memories together, but one of my favorite early memories was you teaching me the ropes of doing hospital visits. You remember our first? So I'm within my first 2 weeks of being on staff. I mean, and like I was explaining before, I was green, and you were so willing, so willing. And we had already established a good relationship before I even came on staff. You and I had already had a pretty tight relationship. But when I came on staff, like you were the one I was like going to like with all the questions. Like you were the one that I felt most comfortable like with, and it was hospital visit day for me. And Pastor John's just like, "Oh, you have to go out on the hospital visits. You know, this is your day. Tuesday's your day, and Tuesday's been my day now for 15 years, a better part, almost 15 years." And I'm like, "Ron, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Can you go with me? Like, I'm supposed to go to these hospitals, and then I'm supposed to go to like this nursing home."
I was wondering if we were going to talk about that.
I thought this would be a fun thing
I
to
had
close
a
on.
picture popped up in my mind immediately.
So you and I go out because you and I went down to Pittsburgh together, but then we went to this nursing home. I can't remember. It doesn't really matter where it was at.
I think in Hermitage, wasn't
Was it in Hermitage?
I think maybe.
I can't remember. All I remember is of that day, and it has stuck with me my entire life.
The elevator.
The elevator of doom. Yeah. You and I get into this elevator that is built for two. Like, right? Like, I'm not making this up. This is not an exaggeration.
Nope. This was not a freight elevator.
This was not a freight elevator. This was an elevator that was essentially a coffin. Like, it was tight. And Ron and I get into this. And the whole time, like, I mean, I don't like elevators. I'm not a fan of elevators. We get into this elevator, and I'm like, oh, man, this thing is, like, it does not look good. And sure enough, Ron and I get stuck between floors.
Yep.
And I immediately start having like a panic attack. That was one of the most terrifying moments.
The picture that comes to mind was us being stuck probably 3 or 4 feet above the floor and finding the doors open, or someone pried them open.
Yep.
And we had to crawl out, and my thoughts were, what happens if I'm halfway out and the elevator shaft breaks or the cable breaks? It's going to cut me in half or something like that.
That was the whole thing. Like,
and I had to be second out because somebody else I know was bolting for the opening.
Thank you. Everyone's already aware of my cowardice. I had to, I mean, the same thoughts were racing through my head as well.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to get cut in half. One of us has to be the guinea pig and go through this opening.
Yeah, we couldn't even sit down and relax in there. There was no room.
No, there's no room. Like, there's no elevator tighter. But my goodness, what a trust building exercise that was. Goodness, Ron. Hey, man, thank you so much again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming, being here. I love you. And appreciate everything that you've ever done for me and for my family. Just so much encouragement and great advice over the years.
Thank you. And whether you know it or not, it's kind of payback time because you got one of the most important people in my life in your ministry, my grandson Wyatt. And
a fantastic kid.
Yeah, and I love him so much, and I love the fact that he wants to be here.
Yeah.
And so thank you.
Yeah.
For that.
No, it's listen, if there's anything I'll give him really good grades on everything. And
be honest.
I will be honest. I will absolutely be honest. So, Ron, thank you again. I love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.
Appreciate this. Well, that was Beyond Sunday. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be with you next time. Bye-bye.